What if I told you that the very knowledge you seek to awaken yourself can quietly unmake you? Not metaphorically, not poetically, psychologically, spiritually, existentially. Across the internet, esoteric knowledge is marketed like a hidden upgrade to reality. Ancient codes, secret symbols, hermetic laws, Gnostic revelations, forbidden texts. It is presented as illumination, a lantern handed to you in the dark. But no one speaks of the burn, because knowledge, especially hidden knowledge, does not simply inform you, it rearranges you. It dismantles the architecture of your meaning. It dissolves identities you once relied upon. It cracks open assumptions you didn't even know were holding you together. And once that crack appears, it does not close. Throughout history, mystery schools warned initiates that higher wisdom is not merely learned, it is survived. The ancients never treated sacred knowledge as entertainment. It was given slowly, ritually, in stages. Why? Because insight without inner preparation can fracture the psyche. Awareness without grounding can destabilize the soul. The hidden cost of esoteric knowledge is rarely discussed in modern spiritual culture. We romanticize awakening. We glorify seeing through the illusion. We praise those who claim to have pierced the veil. But what happens after the veil falls? What happens when you can no longer participate in the world the way you once did? When institutions feel hollow? When conversations feel scripted? When meaning feels constructed? When you see the mechanism behind the magic trick and can never again believe in the trick? In this video, we will explore the unseen price of hidden knowledge. We will examine why ancient traditions approached it with caution. We will uncover the psychological and spiritual destabilization it can cause. We will look at the two great traps that await the premature seeker. And most importantly, we will explore how to transform this poison into medicine. Because esoteric knowledge is neither salvation nor damnation. It is fire, and fire does not care whether it warms you or consumes you. The hidden cost of esoteric knowledge does not begin in books, symbols, or ancient doctrines. It begins in the gap between what you can see and what you can hold. When someone first encounters hidden knowledge, sacred geometry, archetypal symbolism, occult philosophy, metaphysical frameworks, something extraordinary happens. The world rearranges itself. Patterns emerge where randomness once ruled. Systems become visible. Structures reveal themselves. Illusions seem to fall away. It feels like awakening. But what is actually happening is expansion of perception. And perception alone is not integration. Imagine your consciousness as a vessel. Every belief you've ever held, every identity you've constructed, every assumption about reality, they form the walls of that vessel. They give shape to your inner world. They contain meaning. Now imagine pouring into that vessel a flood of destabilizing truths. That society is constructed, that identity is layered illusion, that power structures manipulate perception, that morality is historically conditioned, that consciousness may be primary to matter. The vessel cracks. Not because the truths are false, but because the structure was not reinforced to contain them. This is the first hidden cost, destabilization of meaning. Human beings do not survive on facts. We survive on coherence. We need a narrative that orients us in time, in community, in purpose. Esoteric knowledge often dismantles inherited narratives without immediately replacing them. You realize the script was written before you were born, but you do not yet know how to write your own. And in that moment, you are suspended. This is where many mistake disorientation for enlightenment. You feel different, separate, detached. You see the machinery behind conversations. You notice archetypes instead of personalities. You hear ideology instead of opinion. You become hyper-aware of conditioning in media, in institutions, in relationships. But awareness without embodiment can create distance. Distance without compassion becomes contempt. This is the second hidden cost, inflation. When you see the mechanism, it is tempting to feel superior to those who do not. The ego quietly reshapes itself around insight. I see what others cannot. I am awake. They are asleep. The irony is profound. The same ego that once clung to social identity now clings to spiritual identity. Instead of dissolving the self, knowledge fortifies it in subtler ways. It becomes more refined and more isolated. Psychologically, this is a defense mechanism. When meaning dissolves, the psyche seeks stability. If it cannot find stability in inherited beliefs, it may seek it in perceived superiority. I may not know what is real anymore, but at least I know others are blind. This feels empowering, but it quietly fractures connection. The third hidden cost is alienation. When you dismantle collective illusions too quickly, you may struggle to participate in ordinary life. Conversations feel hollow. Goals feel arbitrary. Social rituals feel staged. You begin to feel like an observer rather than a participant. At first, this distance feels like clarity, but prolonged distance erodes belonging. And belonging is not a trivial need. It is fundamental to psychological stability. Ancient initiatory systems knew this. That is why awakening occurred within a community, not in isolation. The initiate was held, guided, contained. Today, many seekers undergo awakening alone, without mentorship, without integration practices, without psychological grounding. The result can be existential vertigo. The world feels artificial, yet you must still live in it. Identity feels constructed, yet you must still act through it. Morality feels relative, yet you must still choose. And so the mind races ahead into abstraction, while the heart struggles to catch up. This is the central tension, when seeing outruns being. Esoteric knowledge expands sight, but without inner development, the one who sees remains unchanged. And that mismatch creates pressure. Pressure that, if not consciously integrated, turns insight into instability. This is not failure, it is a developmental threshold. But to cross it safely, one must understand the deeper mechanisms at play, the subtler psychological and spiritual consequences that arise when knowledge becomes larger than the one who carries it. If Part 1 revealed the crack in the vessel, Part 2 reveals what seeps through it. When esoteric knowledge destabilizes inherited meaning, it does not leave a vacuum. The psyche cannot tolerate emptiness for long.
something rushes in to fill the space. Often, that something is the shadow. The shadow is not evil, it is simply the unconscious, the unexamined fears, insecurities, resentments, and unmet needs that quietly shape perception. When you encounter hidden knowledge, before first integrating your shadow, that knowledge becomes filtered through unresolved wounds. And this is where the hidden cost deepens. You begin to interpret everything through suspicion. Institutions are not flawed, they are malicious. Disagreement is not perspective, it is programming. Ambiguity is not complexity, it is deception. You see patterns everywhere. Some are real, some are projections. The danger is not in recognizing corruption, the danger is in losing discernment. Esoteric traditions have long warned about this stage. The alchemists spoke of negredo, the blackening phase, where everything dissolves into darkness before refinement occurs. Mystics called it the dark night. Psychologists call it existential crisis. In this phase, you confront the abyss. Here, the warning of Friedrich Nietzsche becomes deeply relevant. When you gaze into the abyss gazes into you. This is not about avoiding truth, it is about understanding reciprocity. When you examine the hidden structures of power, illusion, and manipulation, you must also examine the structures within yourself that resonate with them. Otherwise, the external shadow awakens the internal one. And the split begins. The split between intellect and embodiment. Your mind understands that identity is fluid, but your emotions still cling to recognition. Your philosophy says nothing has inherent meaning, but your nervous system still longs for purpose. Your worldview dissolves hierarchy, but your ego quietly rebuilds it around awareness. This internal contradiction generates tension. Some resolve it by hardening. They become cynical, detached, cold. They claim to have transcended the human drama, but what they have often transcended is vulnerability. Others resolve it by escaping upward. They retreat into abstraction, endless symbolism, metaphysical hierarchies. They float above ordinary life, convinced they are revolving beyond it. Both responses share a common root: avoidance of integration. Integration is slower than insight. It requires humility. It requires confronting how your own wounds color your perception. It requires accepting that seeing through illusion does not exempt you from participating in the human condition. Without integration, knowledge fragments the self. You become divided, the part that sees and the part that cannot yet live what it sees. This division produces subtle suffering, a quiet sense of being unmoored. You no longer fully belong to conventional reality, yet you have not stabilized a deeper one. This is the spiritual liminal space. In ancient initiatory systems, this stage was supported by ritual containment. Symbols were not merely intellectual puzzles, they were psychological containers. The initiate was guided through dissolution and reconstruction. Today, many seekers dissolve but never reconstruct. And so, the hidden cost reveals itself fully: loss of coherence. Coherence is the alignment between perception, identity, emotion, and action. When esoteric knowledge expands perception faster than the rest of the system can adapt, coherence fractures. You may know profound truths, yet struggle to act meaningfully. You may speak about unity, yet feel isolated. You may understand non-duality,
yet react defensively. This is not hypocrisy, it is developmental imbalance. The mind has sprinted ahead, the body and heart remain behind. But here is the paradox that ancient wisdom guarded carefully. The destabilization is not a mistake, it is a threshold. Esoteric knowledge is designed to dismantle false structures. That dismantling feels like loss because we confuse structure with identity. When the scaffolding falls, we think we are falling. In truth, we are being invited to build consciously. The hidden cost is not that knowledge destroys you. It is that knowledge demands you become someone capable of carrying it. And that demand is uncomfortable because it requires responsibility. It requires turning the same penetrating gaze you aimed at the world inward into your own motives, projections, and defenses. Only then does the abyss cease to consume and begin to refine. But refinement is not automatic. It is practiced. And this is where we move from understanding the cost to learning how to transform it. Practical application, turning poison into medicine. If esoteric knowledge is fire, then integration is the hearth that contains it. Without containment, fire spreads and consumes. With containment, it warms, illuminates, and sustains. The question is no longer, what is the hidden truth? The question becomes, am I strong enough to carry what I now see? Here are the practices that transform destabilizing insight into embodied wisdom. 1. Slow the consumption, deepen the digestion. Modern seekers often consume esoteric material the way others consume news feeds, rapidly, endlessly, without pause. This creates intellectual inflation without embodiment. Adopt a sacred ratio. For every hour of study, spend an hour in reflection. Close the book. Sit with what unsettled you. Ask, what part of this knowledge triggered me? Did it produce fear, superiority, anger, awe? What does that emotional reaction reveal about me? This is how knowledge becomes self-knowledge. Without reflection, you accumulate concepts. With reflection, you cultivate awareness. 2. Practice shadow integration. Whenever you feel contempt for the unaware, pause. Instead of projecting outward, ask inward. Where in my life am I unconscious? What patterns do I repeat automatically? What discomfort am I avoiding by focusing on external systems? This is the discipline of psychological alchemy. The external world often mirrors internal fragmentation. When you see manipulation everywhere, examine where you manipulate yourself. When you see illusion everywhere, examine what illusions you cling to. This does not invalidate real corruption. It prevents projection from distorting perception. Shadow work grounds insight in humility. 3. Rebuild meaning consciously. When inherited narratives collapse, you may feel suspended in emptiness. Do not rush to fill it with borrowed cosmologies. Instead, choose deliberately. What values will I live by? What principles will guide my actions? What responsibilities will I accept? Meaning is not discovered like a hidden object. It is forged like metal through repetition and commitment. Pick one area of your life, relationships, work, creative expression, and apply your awareness there. Embody what you claim to understand.
Insight without action breeds stagnation. Action rooted in awareness builds coherence. 4. Re-enter the human world. If awakening has distanced you from others, gently return. Have conversations without trying to decode them. Listen without analyzing archetypes. Engage without seeking hidden layers. This is not regression, it is integration. The purpose of seeing through illusion is not to reject humanity, it is to participate in it consciously. Compassion stabilizes insight. Belonging does not require ignorance, it requires humility. 5. Regulate the nervous system. Esoteric destabilization is not purely philosophical, it is physiological. When your worldview fractures, your nervous system reacts as if safety has been threatened. You may experience anxiety, dissociation, hypervigilance, or existential dread. Ground yourself physically. Daily movement. Breathwork focused on slow exhalation. Time in nature without analysis. Limiting overstimulating information. You cannot integrate cosmic ideas in a dysregulated body. Embodiment is not optional, it is foundational. 6. Seek containment, not echo chambers. Avoid communities that reinforce superiority or paranoia. Instead, seek mentors, therapists, or grounded practitioners who value integration over revelation. Ancient initiates were guided for a reason. Containment prevents fragmentation. True wisdom does not amplify ego, it stabilizes presence. The hidden cost of esoteric knowledge emerges when awareness expands without structure. The antidote is structure. Reflection, shadow work, conscious meaning, embodiment, community. These practices transform destabilization into depth. And when practiced consistently, the same knowledge that once fractured your worldview becomes the foundation of a more deliberate, grounded, and resilient self. The fire remains powerful, but now it burns in a hearth you have built. Esoteric knowledge has always been wrapped in mystery, not to hide it from the worthy, but to protect the unprepared. Throughout this journey, we have uncovered a truth rarely spoken in modern spiritual culture. The hidden cost of esoteric knowledge is not deception, nor darkness, nor forbidden content. It is destabilization. We explored how ancient traditions approached sacred wisdom with caution and ritual preparation. We examined how insight can fracture meaning when it outruns maturity. We confronted the dangers of inflation, alienation, and shadow projection. And we uncovered the central paradox. Awareness expands instantly. Embodiment evolves slowly. The fire of hidden knowledge is real. It can illuminate the deepest architecture of reality. It can strip illusion from your eyes. It can free you from inherited narratives and unconscious patterns. But fire does not discriminate. If you approach it without structure, it burns through identity, belonging, and coherence. If you approach it with humility and discipline, it refines you. The difference is not the knowledge. The difference is who you become in response to it. The true initiate is not the one who collects the most secrets. It is the one who can remain human after seeing behind the veil. The one who integrates shadow rather than projecting it. The one who rebuilds meaning consciously rather than collapsing into cynicism. the one who returns to the world, not asleep, not superior, but grounded. So reflect deeply. What has your search for hidden truth cost you? Has it expanded your heart or hardened it? Has it increased your clarity or your isolation? Has it strengthened your character or merely your opinions? The work does not end when you see through illusion. It begins there. Because the ultimate purpose of esoteric knowledge is not escape, it is transformation. And transformation demands responsibility. If you are willing to carry what you see, patiently, humbly, consciously, then the fire will not consume you. It will forge you. And that is the real initiation.